being a collegiate athlete, you have the competitiveness. You were working out. You were trying to refrain from injuring yourself. You've been through injuries before. You take the bar exam, and then now you do personal injury. I mean, I could see the flow of how personal injury happened, but you tell me in your own words, how did personal injury happen?
Like you said, I've been through the injuries.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Modern Lawyers Podcast. I'll be your host, your lawyer, Ali, and I'm here with a newly minted lawyer, Cameron Biedgoly. How's it going, Cam?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing well. So tell me about your day so far.
Having a good day so far. Wake up at around 6, take the boys on a walk. I have 2 dogs, a husky and a Bernedoodle. We try to take our time on that, enjoy the day, enjoy the sunlight that just came out. Get back in, quick workout, nothing serious, but we have a couple weights in our garage. Do a quick workout, eat some breakfast, get over to the office. Had a couple case meetings this morning, so we've got, the rest of the week planned and into next week. Now we're sitting here.
That's a lot of things to do by 10 a.m. You told me about your 2 dogs. They get along. It was a husky and what is the other type of dog?
It's a Bernedoodle, so it's a mix between a Saint Bernard and a Doodle.
Poodle,
yeah.
It's a big dog?
Yeah. They're both about 60 pounds, so not too big, but they both take up a lot of space on the couch. So.
All right, and you can control. You're a pretty big guy yourself.
Oh yeah. They try to get out of hand a little bit, but you just grab them and give them a big bear hug.
So you're a ex-collegiate athlete that's gone lawyer. Tell me about your athletic background.
Yeah, I grew up here in Orange County, played football and basketball pretty much my whole life.
Represent.
Yeah. Went out to a smaller D2 school out in Nebraska to play football. Didn't work out, exactly how I wanted to, but football was kind of my passion at the time, so I wasn't going to give up on it. I was, looking for anything that I could do. Went out there, had a lot of fun, met a lot of good people, learned a lot about life. That's when I kind of decided I'm going to really stick my foot down and pursue my law career. Came back out here to UCI, graduated in 2017, went straight to law school at Chapman over here. I got to spend time with my family, which was really important to me. It made the most financial sense to go there, live at home, save a lot of money. Law school is pretty expensive. And, it as just as much as everyone else that goes into law school, you kind of pay it off for the rest of your life. Mm-hmm. But it's worth it to get to this point, be able to help people, really be able to provide for your family, stuff like that. So, I'm very excited that I went through it. And at the end of the day, really, it's just about perseverance in law school, mm-hmm. Perseverance through the bar exam, perseverance through, the job that we do on a day-to-day basis. Because there's a lot of things that go on, a lot of things that happen. You probably know the best that half the day is spent putting out any fires that might happen. But yeah, it's well worth it. Going through that is not an easy thing, but once you get here, it's like it was meant to be.
It's rewarding, right?
Yeah.
I like to tell new attorneys that it is rewarding once you cross from being a law clerk to an attorney. I mean, everything makes sense. Everything's worth it. But let's break up what you said a little bit. So, I don't usually see football players, football jocks becoming attorneys, reading books. And I'm not saying it's impossible. When you're an athlete, you stay an athlete. And when you're an attorney, you generally are attracted to reading and writing and school. So what position did you play in football?
Football, I played quarterback. So it's probably the least athletic of all the positions. But you have to be a step ahead of everyone. So that's what I loved about football is, I knew what the play was. I could change the play if I saw anything that I didn't like. It was kind of the ball was in my hands every single play. I didn't like to have no control over where the ball went. I played receiver for a couple days, and I was like, I don't like this. A lot of running for no reason. But at quarterback, you really get to direct what's going on. You get to pick and choose where you get the ball, who's getting the ball, what the situation is. So it really, it's just about the control. It's about, knowing your people. It's about knowing the other team, what they're going to do. And that's kind of how life is. That's kind of how school is. That's how work is. You have to be one step ahead of everyone. If you're not a step ahead of everyone, there's a person that's a step ahead of you. Yeah. And at the end of the day, you don't want to be left behind.
Well, if you're not a step ahead, you're a step behind, right? Would you say that a quarterback has a higher IQ? I mean, I just think about the fact that you have to remember all these plays. You have to dictate these plays and put them into motion. Does everyone have to know the plays? Is it the quarterback? How does that all work?
Yeah, it's a good question. Quarterback has to know every play, not only just an overview of the play, but he has to know what every single person's job is on that play. And on top of that, you have to decide in a split second what everyone on the other team is doing. So the main thing with quarterback is really being confident in your ability to execute the play, but also to know every part of the play. There were many times where I would call a play and people would ask me what their job is. And if you don't know that, then your team kind of loses faith in you. And I think that's the most important thing as a quarterback is having your team believe in you. If they don't believe in you, then no one else is going to believe in you, and it's going to be downhill from there. So I was big on instilling confidence in my teammates, letting them know the play, you practiced for this, you're in a position to make a play here, and I trust you. I'm going to throw you the ball here, and you're going to make the play, and we're going to win. So if you don't have that confidence, if you don't, prepare, then you're not setting yourself up for success.
I see. And I believe it's a very strict regimen being a collegiate athlete, a football player. What were your workouts like? Your workouts and diet?
Yeah, I mean, diet wasn't the best in high school, and now it's not the best anymore. But in that period where you're training to go to college to play football, you're doing the most that you can. You're waking up every day bright and early. You're getting a workout in first thing so you don't lose the day. That's a win in my book. If I can wake up and I can work out, you get into whatever work you need to do for the day, whether it's school work, working on a business, working on your career path, applications, anything like that. And then you go to another workout. Hopefully, you're working out with teammates. You're doing some ball skills. You're throwing the ball around, working on routes. And then at the end of the day, doing some studying that has to do with the sport. If you don't study anything, then you're not going to be learning. You're going to be a step behind. So that was big on me. That was pretty much my daily regimen. Preparing for college. Once you get to college, it's a whole nother game.
Sure.
You're up at 4 a.m. to get ready and get into your 5 a.m. workout. And if you're not there by 4:45, you're late, the whole team is running, and no one likes you. It goes back to that confidence thing. Your team's going to lose confidence in you if you show up late. So you're up at 4 a.m., and I was in Nebraska. So during the winter, it was -10 with 30-mile-an-hour winds. So you're putting on thermals and sweatshirts and jackets and jeans with sweatpants over it. You're very bundled up. You're walking into the facility, and they got the heater blasting, so you're already sweating. You're taking off all of those layers. You go into a workout from 5 to about 7:30. You're doing weightlifting. You're doing cardio, a gauntlet basically. They're putting you through everything that they can to break you, and that's very similar to law school and the legal profession. Is they're trying to break you. They're trying to get you to quit. They're trying to make you stop. But that's the one thing that I got advice from my uncle and from you. Don't quit. That was the two words that I would always repeat to myself. Don't quit. No matter what happened, just don't quit. Keep going.
Sure. I think it's important. I think it's important not to quit because that's what success is. Success is overcoming failures, and no one tells you about how many failures you go through before you hit success. I wish you hit success on the first round, but that's not reality. Reality is perseverance and running through every single wall. And if there isn't a door, you build a door and you walk through it, guns blazing. So I hear you on that. As far as your workouts go, you're pretty familiar with strength training. And the mechanics of the body?
Yeah. Going through college, there's a lot of really good classes that you can take, but most of what I learned was just self-taught. Once you get into it, there's a lot of resources online. You've got to know what you're doing in order to make sure that you're not hurt. If you're constantly hurt, then you're no use to the team. You're no use to yourself. You kind of start losing that confidence that I said from before. So, if you want to be the best that you can, it's not just physical. You have to go for the mental side of things. You have to learn how to lift properly. You have to have good form. I did some coaching after I came back from Nebraska. Had some time before I went to law school. Did a lot of coaching. Started my own little private training business. No one's going to trust you if you don't, take a look at people's form, if you don't, teach them the right things to do. And it's not very complicated. You can learn these things within a week, but it's staying strict and it's staying to that regimen and making sure that you're doing it right every single time. And, it takes one time where you slack off to tear something.
Talking about tearing something, have you endured any injuries?
I've had a couple. To be honest, I think I've hurt every single part of my body. But if we start from the top down, concussions, a handful of concussions from football. There was one time I can remember that I lost consciousness on the field. That's a pretty crazy experience. It's kind of like the movies where everyone wakes up and where am I? Who am I? It doesn't last that long, but when you wake up, you don't know where you are. And then you look around and you're in a football field. So you're like, okay, probably playing a football game. Yeah. And you look down, you have pads. And I had the ball in my hand. So I was like, okay, I probably just got hit really hard. Concussions are very common in football. I've seen a lot of my friends not know who they were after they wake up. So it's really scary to go through it, to see other people that you care about go through. And you don't know the long-term effects of these concussions. So it's something you have to monitor for years and years. So I'm glad that, I got to this point and the concussions didn't affect me too much. But going down the list, I've hurt my shoulder, I've broken my wrist, I've shattered my kneecap, I've torn my PCL in my knee. And then most recently, I tore my Achilles. That one is a full year recovery. So I wasn't walking for about 6-7 months, and then it's some brutal rehab. It's not, all of a sudden you don't walk for 6 months and you're good. It's another 6 months of painful rehab, lots of stretching. You're doing what your body doesn't want to do to try to get the muscles back, get the muscles recovered. And mine was a tendon. So there's not much you can do for a tendon strengthening wise. You take some supplements, take some vitamins, you stretch it out. There's a couple exercises you could do, but it's just patience and it's being careful now.
I see. What's the correlation between that Brad Pitt movie Achilles and injuring your Achilles? I mean, what's so special about the Achilles?
Yeah, so your Achilles is what causes your foot to be able to push you off the ground and to catch yourself. So things like jumping, walking up the stairs, walking down the stairs, stepping off a curb, even, just normal walking. I had to walk very flat-footed for the first couple months of my recovery. I couldn't push off whatsoever. They make you do this test where you stand on one foot and you try to just go on your tippy toe. Mm-hmm. With my left foot, which is the one I tore, it wouldn't move whatsoever. With my right foot, it was easy. So it wasn't anything that was, a mental block. It was a purely physical block. You cannot move your foot when your Achilles is torn. The connection with the movie, that is an old tale, Achilles, great warrior, someone that couldn't be beat. But something as simple as shooting an arrow and cutting his Achilles completely takes him out of the game. It's something you take for granted. It's something, you don't wear armor on your Achilles. It's something that people overlook, I think. And you don't really think about it until it happens to you. And then you're very cautious of it. You realize that it really can put you out for a long time.
Yeah. I used to be a big mythology buff. And if I recall, Achilles' mother dipped Achilles in the river of Styx. And when you dipped him in the river of Styx, it was to make him immortal, and she was able to dip him completely except for his feet. And so the most vulnerable part of his body was his Achilles. So it makes sense. I see that. You've had a lot of injuries, and I would imagine when you have this many injuries, you're going just hard in the paint every time in football. So tell me about that competitive nature. What's it like to be a collegiate athlete?
Yeah, so the main thing is, like I said, I'm always trying to be a step ahead of people. I wasn't the most athletic person out there on the field. There are a lot of freaks of nature out there. Football is a game where the most athletic, the strongest kids all get out there and they train for years to play this game. And for me, I had just started in high school. I wasn't really too sure about getting hit or how to take a hit or how to hit people. So I was just trying to stay a step ahead. And that was my competitive nature. I didn't want to get hit. I didn't want to put myself in danger. I didn't want to put my teammates in danger. So I was always, always, always studying. I was always watching film. I was always making sure that I can set my teammate up for success. You don't want to lose. No one wants to lose. And there's a saying that goes, the joys of winning is not as good as the feelings you get from a loss. That's true. I'll always remember all the losses that I had. I couldn't remember, more than one or two victories, but I'll always remember all the losses. And that's what keeps me going to this day is I'm trying to be a step ahead. I hate the feeling of falling behind. If there's anything that I can do now, I will do it now so that I'd rather have more time on my hands at the end of the day than trying to rush something and you're not putting in your best effort and then, you're falling behind. You're a step behind everyone.
That makes sense considering the fact that you get up so early every day. So you go from being a football player, an athlete, to, hey, mom and dad, I'm going to go to law school. I'm going to become a lawyer. I'm going to take the California State Bar. What is the California State Bar?
The California State Bar is a exam that you have to take after you go to law school. It's basically your entry exam into the legal field. So in order to become an attorney, you need to pass the California State Bar exam. Right now, the California State Bar exam is a 2-day exam. It's 6 hours each day. You get a lunch in between, so it ends up being about 7 to 8 hours of straight test taking. You have a lot of multiple choice questions that are very geared towards, everything in the legal field. There's 17 subjects from constitutional law to tort law, which is what we do today, personal injury, contracts questions, real estate questions. So there's every possible subject on the bar exam. And beyond the multiple choice questions, there are essay questions as well, where you're given an issue like if a client walked into your office, here's a story that they just told you. What are their problems? What can they do to fix them? And you have to give the graders an essay that's pretty much perfect. These tests are graded on curves, and with the curves, I've never been intimidated in my life playing football, but there are some really smart people out there trying to be attorneys. And in law school, they grade you on a curve. On the bar exam, they grade you on a curve. So it's not, can I write a passing score? It's, can I write better than the 9,000 other people that are taking this exam? So it's very daunting. While you're writing it, you're not really thinking about it, but the weeks leading up to it, that's all you're thinking about. I remember waking up with nightmares the week of just from stress. I'm not someone that stresses too often either, so that was weird for me. Led to a lot of, issues going into the bar exam, and then you sit down and you go into the zone. And that's where I think football and sports and everything helped me. When I get into a test, yeah, you might be nervous, but once it starts, you've got one goal in mind. But yeah, the California bar exam is probably one of the hardest tests, at least in America. But when it comes down to it, it's about perseverance. I took it twice. The first time I failed by 1 point. So that, that hurt. But at the same time, it's 1 point. So it's one question that I might have changed. So I just sat down and started studying again.
So, what doesn't kill you makes you stronger. You mentioned that the California State Bar was 2 days. I'd like to tell everybody when I took the California State Bar, it was 3 days for me. Do you think, from what you've heard, is 2 days more difficult, easier? What's the pros and cons?
Well, I don't think that 3 days or 2 days really makes a difference on the difficulty of the exam. It's definitely on the personal side of things, on if you can handle the amount of attention that you have to give to that exam in a 2 day period versus 3 days. And I've heard from you, I've heard from a lot of my colleagues that took the 3 day bar exam. By the third day, you're just exhausted. And that makes sense. You know, that's 72 hours of thinking about this exam, and it's very stressful. Versus the 2 days, COVID was going on for me, at least. So I graduated.
That's a
at
whole
home.
nother. That's a whole nother layer to this.
Yeah. So they sent us home in March, and we had 2 months left of school. So I graduated at home, and then I prepared for the bar exam at home. And this was right at the beginning, so you weren't even allowed to go outside. You know, people were looking at you weird from their windows if you were outside. So it was just in home, studying and studying and studying. The test comes, and none of us know what to expect. They pushed the test back 2 times. So the date that we thought we were supposed to take the exam, they told us the week before that they're pushing it back. They need to get new software to be able to track us. And then we didn't know how we were going to be proctored. We didn't know, what we were allowed to do, what we were allowed to say, where we were supposed to take it. And then, the couple weeks leading up to it, they let us know, like, they're just going to record us, video proctor. You can take the test at home. You just can't have anyone in the room. You can't have any liquids. You can't have any noises. That was a very stressful part because I live in a apartment complex when I was taking it, basically. And there are a lot of dogs that are barking, and there are people outside that are laughing and joking, and you worry about that. Are they going to flag me? Are they going to review my test? Are they going to cancel my test? Are they going to say that I cheated because my neighbor's dog is barking? You just don't know. So it adds a layer of anxiety. But I did enjoy taking it at home. It gives you a lot more comfort. I was wearing comfortable clothes. I was in the place that I studied, my entire last couple months. But as far as it goes for me personally, I'm much more of a person that likes to go somewhere and start a new activity or start a new whatever I need to do. So I love coming into the office. It really, changes my perspective on home. Now I'm in the office, I'm ready to go to work. It's the same thing for the bar exam. When you're studying at home, there's no separation of your worlds. And that's tough for me. The whole work from home thing was tough. The studying at home. I mean, you're waking up in the same room as you're studying, as you're going to work, as you're going to sleep, as you're watching TV and relaxing. It was tough just to have that mental separation. But the 2 day exam at home, it was a lot more mellow than I believe the 3 day would have been, with an auditorium of 400 or 500 other stressed out students, and then going back to a hotel where all of them are just talking about the exam. So I think there are definitely pros and cons to it. I would have loved to take the 3 day exam in person, just to see how it was. I think I would be able to focus a lot more. Going back to the 2 day exam, it's just the convenience of being home. You turn in the test and you get to go, heat up some food, grab some water, and then go get ready for the next test.
Sure. Do you get any heat from older attorneys that say that they took the 3 day bar? Do they say anything to you?
Oh yeah, every attorney. Every attorney thinks that because it was longer that it was harder for them. The 3 day exam, it was just a shorter time period each day, but it was a total time period that was a lot longer. So if you're mentally tough, it's something you can do. The shorter exam, if you're, someone that cracks under pressure, it probably was better for you because, again, you're at home, you're not in this weird environment, and, you're done within 2 days, and then you can live the rest of your life.
Sure. What's some advice that you can give law students that are going to be taking that 2 day bar exam?
You can't start early enough. That's the one thing that I wish I had taken into consideration my first time. I think I started right on schedule with everyone. You usually start about 3-4 months ahead, where you're really studying, and then the last 2 months up until the exam, it's 10-hour days of nonstop studying. But my main advice for people is start as early as possible and just don't give up. There are going to be days where, your life gets in the way of you studying. It's very easy to get discouraged if you're going over the same page of notes for an hour. There's a lot of memorization on the exam. Like I said, there's 17 subjects. You can't memorize everything.
Sure.
You gotta pick and choose your battles. You gotta pick and choose your fights. And at the end of the day, you will pass it. You're prepared for it. You've spent 3 years of your life studying for it. Get after it, and you will be able to do it. There's a lot of people that I know that gave up right before it. They just broke mentally. I had, friends in law school that we were studying for finals exams, and they walked out of the room while we were studying and said, I quit. That's the one thing I could never do. That's the one thing I could never do is quit on myself, quit on my family, quit on Razavi Law Group, quit on everyone in my life just because I can't study for another hour or two. I can't put myself out there and risk, my pride on a fail or a pass. So it just never quit. That's the best advice that I got going through law school. And it's something that I live by still to today.
Yep.
Just never quit.
That's great advice. I feel like I kind of see a roadmap of your adult life. I mean, being a collegiate athlete, you have the competitiveness. You were working out. You were trying to refrain from injuring yourself. You've been through injuries before. You take the bar exam, and then now you do personal injury. I mean, I could see the flow of how personal injury happened, but you tell me in your own words, how did personal injury happen?
Like you said, I've been through the injuries, and it's one thing to sit here and learn about them and talk to clients about their injuries, but it's a whole nother thing to understand them and to go through what they went through. A lot of the clients that we talk to here, I have pretty much the same injuries that they've had, so I talk to them about my experience. That's something that always led me towards this path. First and foremost, I had a great mentor in you, in my uncle. You guys both, helped me out greatly throughout my career, and it just made sense. I did some briefs here. I did some demand letters, did a lot of, the day-to-day workings of a law firm, and everything I was doing here made sense. It flowed chronologically. It felt like you were actually helping people on a daily basis. Mm-hmm. Clients call us and tell us that they're in pain that moment, and they don't know what to do. They've never been in this situation. They don't know if what they're doing is correct in a legal sense. And at the end of the day, it's hearing that comfort in their voice at the end of the phone call where they're like, oh, this guy cares about me. Like, yeah, he's going to make sure my case is built properly and my case is, bulletproof, but they care about me and they care about my health. If you call me and you tell me you're hurt, I'm going to try to figure out who to send you to, what doctor to get you in, how to get you to feel better. That's our main thing. And when it comes down to how I got here, I saw the work that you were doing. I saw the work that was being done here. I talked to clients, and only a couple months into working here, I was like, this is it. It's not some corporate law job where you're working on $1 million deals and you never see the client. You see the client every day. You talk to the client every day. You're making sure these people are able to pay their rent. You're making sure these people have a car to pick up their kids from school. We have clients that call us in the middle of the night and tell us that they can't go to sleep because they're in all this pain. And first thing in the morning, we get them into a doctor. So being able to help someone immediately, especially after knowing what they're going through, and injuries are, you always say this, that it's the worst part of someone's life, the worst moment of someone's life right now. And if I can just help a little bit, then I feel at least happy with myself.
I hear you. It's tough. It's tough to have an injury or lose a loved one or lose a job. We're dealing with clients at their worst, and we have to bring the fight that they can't bring alone. We step into their shoes. We tell their story better than they can tell their own story. So I completely hear you. Now, switching topics a little bit, we call ourselves modern lawyers. I mean, you're a millennial attorney, and social media is huge right now. I know you have an Instagram handle called SoCal Injury Lawyer. How do you use social media in your practice?
Yeah, it's a good question. When I grew up, Instagram was just getting started. So growing up, it was just kind of a part of our life. We weren't really using it for any reason. So by the time I got to, a point where I could use Instagram to help me reach out to more audiences, more people, see if they need any help, it just felt natural. I'm not someone that's going to sit there and try to create content all day long to try to just stay relevant. I try to make sure that people know I'm there for them. So my Instagram right now, we just started it a couple months ago. It's just to let people know, like, here's the number to call, here's who I am, introducing myself, making sure people know that, they have an attorney they can call if they need it. A lot of my Instagram is people that I actually know. I don't really follow people that I don't know. I don't let other people follow me that I don't know at all. And if someone new that I don't know follows me, I try to reach out to them and get to know them and see, hey, do you need help? Is that why you added me, or why did you add me? What's going on? So it's more of a way to communicate with people for me, just like texting. It's just another platform. I can meet new people. I can talk to them, see if they need help. Just extend who I am to people. As far as it goes, it's such a natural part of life for us, at least, to where you wake up the next day and you check your Instagram and you're like, oh, that was my dinner last night. I didn't even realize that I posted it. But that's everyone's first reactions when they go to dinner. No one eat. Let's not touch anything. Let's take the photo. Let's put it on there.
Sure.
It's just who you are. So it wasn't a hard transition for me. It was something that I wanted to make sure was there so that people could reach out, but also something that, I didn't want to take over my life. I want to learn medicine. I want to learn about injuries more. I want to learn about our clients. So if anyone does need any help, we're out there, and they know that.
Perfect. If anybody needs any help, SoCal Injury Lawyer. I appreciate everybody listening to the Modern Lawyers podcast with Cameron Biedgoly. Please follow us for next week's episode. Thank you. Cheers.